This is one of the most notoriously haunted houses in the world. It is to be found in the sleepy seaside town of Windenburg, an hour away from the pet-ridden town of Brindleton Bay. 93 years ago, a truly horrifying crime was committed here. When 3 members of the Creel family were found burned alive and stabbed to death in a single night. Even now, the details of exactly how these brutal murders were carried out remain shrouded in mystery.
It's probably one of the most haunted homes in the world. It is certainly one of the most publicized haunted homes in the world.
Whatever happened, it was a confluence of events and personalities, and it meshed to form the perfect psychic storm.
I guess the real Windenburg horror is supposed to be me, because I'm the one that, got convicted of killing my entire family. I'm the one that's supposed to be possessed by the devil. Possessed by the devil. Possessed by the devil.
What is the truth about the Creel massacre?
The mysteries and controversies surrounding the Windenburg story begin with the horrific events that took place the night of November 5, 1929, when 3 members of the Creel family, mother and her 2 children, were burned alive and stabbed repeatedly right at this house, and the other child, the youngest, disappeared without a trace.
I had an office in the front of my house, and I was sitting in the office of my friend. Mark comes in, and Mark says, "I got something to tell you. You're not going to believe this." He says the Creel's home is on fire.
Before that fateful night, the Creels were your Sim Nation, typical family of the late 20s. The Creels owned a drugstore, where Clifford was employed. But he would always spend his time at bars, instead of at work. One of the more peculiar things about this incident is that while the murdering unfolded within an estimated 15-minute time frame, the way the bodies were found showed no sign of struggle. These are photos taken of Clifford after being arrested.
Strangerville. We all know it. That cookie town by Del Sol and Oasis. I ordered a vacation there in, 28. Took my family around those parts. I didn't know it at the time, but that town carried some bad mojo. They had this lab there. Nobody was allowed in it. I thought, okay, that's weird. But I paid no mind to it. One day our tour guide said that they were allowing us to go and tour the lab. Well, we did. Little Henry was excited about it. He always loved those things. Science and stuff. Anyways, we get in this lab. We're walking through and it's just filled with this disgusting otherworldly substance. Vines and purple plants. They told us they were prototypes, but I don't know. After a while, my youngest little Victor started coughing. Not just coughing, he was hacking. They rushed some doctors in and treated him. Right there in that lab. We waited for what felt like years. And God, I wish we didn't. Because my boy was never the same again.
And this is before.
This is before he killed my entire family. Yes, This is before he killed my entire family. Killed my entire family.
There is some truth to what Clifford would say. It's that Strangerville truly was cursed. A town so rooted in evil. And that evil followed his family home. I do believe that Clifford did not kill his family. I'm a paranormal investigator and novice spellcaster. Occultism is my thing, my reason for living. I grew up in the lush bayous of Willow Creek, and next to Strangerville, Willow Creek is almost just as haunted. I've studied the Bella Goff disappearance, the heinous crimes of Madame Victoria Levine and her haunting of the Levine estate years after her death, and even the recent Black Widow case. But nothing ever amazed me more or amounted to the mysteries of Strangerville. Old Clifford Creel would mention him seeing purple plants around the lab. We obviously know that's true, as they've multiplied across the town. We don't know what those plants are, but the government does. After Bela Goff published that expose that blew the roofs off the government's head, they ceased production in that lab. At least, that's what they wanted us to think. I am not a theorist, and I wish not to be labeled as one, but there is something in that lab. Something connected to the plants that causes the residents to act all weird and possessed-like. Like that well-known photo of Clifford Creel taken during his arrest that's been circulating around Creepy Cinsta and 6chan for years. Plus, it just doesn't make sense. If Clifford killed his toddler and hid the body, how come it was never found? Sim Nation is a very small country. He would have been found by now, which is why I believe he's still alive.
I know evil, because I've seen it firsthand. That little boy was likely a product of the government's twisted game. After I published that expose way back when, I had to find myself and take a beat for a while. I became this big worldwide journalist overnight, and I was attempting to do what any story-hungry journalist would do: chase another story, and I was willing to do anything to get that story. I first heard about the Creel family massacre when I was on a book tour in Windenburg. I'm from Willow Creek, but I was so tired of the same ghost stories there. I wanted something bigger, but not anything as big as the government cover-up story, but something to help me stay afloat. I was in the library reading through some old books, and there it was, my story, the Windenburg horror in all its glory. I became fascinated in that case and even beginning to lose sleep, waking up every night at 3 a.m. I didn't know it at the time, but 3 a.m. was the time the massacre took place. It was like this case was latching itself onto me. I was losing myself in it because it was so raw. There's just something about a man claiming his son murdered his entire family while he was possessed that just got to me. It reminded me of my abduction. I had to quit.
Clifford Creel went so far as to propose that his youngest child was possessed by the devil. He said that the boy had been acting weird ever since the return from the family vacation to Strangerville, but it kicked up a notch on that dark night. Ever since that deadly massacre wiped away this once peaceful family, their home has been left to rot, with many of the family's personal items and blood-soaked walls still inside.
I've blessed the home, yes, on numerous occasions. I'm not too sure who was doing it before me, but they were doing a lousy job. Plenty of times, you could feel the malevolent presence of those spirits. You see, haunted houses are like us. They have feelings, memories. Imagine an old house where a nice, sweet old cat lady lived and died. Her spirit wouldn't necessarily impact the house negatively, not if you just leave her alone. But imagine the feelings of a house where several people were massacred in, forced to walk that very spot for eternity. They'd be pretty vengeful spirits. Specters, we call them.
Oh yes, that house gets a lot of visitors. My family lived next to the Creels for the longest. My grandpa was actually buddies with Clifford. He'd often shop from his drugstore. Growing up, I'd witnessed lots of break-ins, vandalisms, kid stuff. A couple of priests and licensed paranormal investigators would come here and there to bless the home. Never anything out of the ordinary. But one particular moment that struck me was, there was this one time I saw a few kids around 18 enter that house with a camera. I thought, okay, these are just dumb social bunny streamers trying to do anything for a video. A few hours would pass and I'd never see them leave. Days would pass and soon, a whole week, and I never saw those kids again.
My mum and I finally called the cops and they showed up, asked us a few questions and went inside the house. They found those kids dead on the living room floor with their throats ripped out.
So, could you walk me through that night?
It was 60-some years ago, yet the details are bound to be fuzzy. Everyone was asleep, or at least I thought. I was finishing up on the garden and I noticed this purple fruit completely different than the other ones. I thought Dorothy, my wife, planted it. She was usually buying out all these exotic fruits, so it didn't faze me. I decided to take a bite out of it. I just wanted to see what it tasted like. I felt fine for a while. I went on to sleep soon afterwards. I was woken back up at around 3 a.m. to the sound of my wife screaming. I went downstairs and there she was, on fire in front of me, screaming for dear life. There I saw little Victor floating in the air, speaking some Latin chant. His eyes were pitch black. It was, I don't know, but that was not my son. Like the Grim Reaper himself, clawed his way into my boy. Next thing I know, Victor's using some sort of mind-controlled telekinesis to direct all the kitchen knives toward Dorothy. I started to feel unwell, got this big headache. I wake up to my fingers bent and my mouth opened wide beyond my control. I see that my daughter and son were also dead. And God help me, I wish there was something more I could have done. All I could do was watch. I watched my toddler kill my family.
Clifford Creel confessed to the murders of his family in the summer of 1930. Since his acquisition, he has stuck to the same story ever since. The story that his youngest child, Victor Creel, committed those murders. However, the debate of whether or not the boy did actually commit the murders is still up in the air. The fact that the boy was never seen since is a true topic.
I do believe Victor is still alive, hiding in plain sight, without a doubt.
Yes, he's still alive. As a matter of fact, ever since this case has resurfaced thanks to the Social Bunny and this documentary, I've been going through Windenburg trying to find him, which you can read all about in my new book, My Windenburg Horror, Catching a Killer.
Creel was declared criminally insane and was ordered to the Briarcliff Asylum located in the neck of Windenburg, where he lived out his sentence from the time of his conviction to the time of his death in 1973, when he inevitably ended his own life.
Unless we get a spirit who actually shows up and explains it on camera, which I doubt is going to happen, we're not going to know, so we will keep pursuing the elusive thing, whatever that thing is.
Up next, come explore the horrors and crimes that once befell the Lavgin Manor in Willow Creek in 1837, only on Sin Discovery.